case, because a battle also is composed of legal battles. So we lost a legal battle, and they utilized a language called legalese, and that's the very same language that they utilize in the court system. It's a language that we created utilizing and manipulating the law. So what they presently use now to offset our reality and push us in a very oppressive situation is actually a science that they inherited from us during the point of our corruption. So this is an excellent DVD on the Moors of Spain, and the young lady who's doing it, this is a BBC special. The young lady who's doing it tells the truth in reference to the Moorish paradigm. So it's very important when you speak about the Moors. What's the name? See? When the Moors ruled Europe.
The victor's version.
This is the victor's version.
Do they admit that the Moors are black?
Of course.
They black everything. They come in summer when the heat is almost dry. They put it fine.
The Moorish story is very important when you take everything in consideration.
Conflict is reenacted in towns across Spain.
See?
Every year, this conflict is reenacted in towns across Spain.
Cristianos.
This, the victor's version of history, glamorizes what was actually a dishonorable and dirty war.
When the Christian comes,
Now, very important that we open up and speak about the Moorish paradigm, because literally everything that we have in science, art, mathematics, occultism, all of it derived from the Moorish paradigm. We brought the entire system of spirituality that is presently used in the Western world for occultism and brought it to Spain and taught it to whoever was so honorable enough to sit there and listen. And unfortunately, what happened is what we taught the world is now being utilized against us. So when we speak about Freemasonry, when we speak about occult science, when we speak about Kabbalah, we're speaking about North African spirituality. North African spirituality. This is a historical day event for some people. Some people have never been into a lodge before. So we've heard so much about the Masons, but let's go back to the Moorish paradigm. The Masonry that we have today is actually Moorish science. And we taught the Western world, the Europeans, we taught them Freemasonry because during the feudal period, prior to the Jewish expulsion and prior to 1492, the region was so feudal that we had to keep a check on who was able to go to and fro. So in order for you to move in these feudal times, you had to have certain key words, key phrases, gestures. So all of that was locked into the field of Freemasonry. Now, before I begin the class, I brought a brother up here. A brother named Sehu. He's going to speak to us for about 5 minutes and tell us what he's doing, and then we're going to bring another brother up named Sam, and he's going to tell us what they do also. And these brothers are like kind of opening up for us. But what we do here is that we celebrate everybody's cause here. So if anybody has anything to share during our break period or after, because we try to empower each other economically. We have the sister who's from the local region. She has some food here. And the brothers from the lodge are frying some fish because, you know, today is Super Bowl Sunday. That's why so many of us in here right now. See how much people is in here, right? I guess everybody else is watching the game. But hopefully people come. So without further ado, the brother Sehu is going to come up and say a few things. And this brother here is a master teacher. And the brother Sam is as well, but I'll let the brother tell you about himself.
All right, greetings. How you doing?
All right.
Good. Thank you. It's a pleasure to always get an opportunity to speak to people about the levels of depth of truth that are oftentimes apparently in our face, but we're not aware of them, or we may have some inkling of knowledge, maybe some passing kind of comment that alludes to something that we feel we should know more about, but it kind of eludes us at the same time. It makes an illusion to us of something to look for that is more, and it seems like there's this chase that we're after. It's often like trying to chase a ball in a pool of water. If you've ever tried that, you know that it constantly moves away from you. But when you turn in upon yourself, and you back up from your pursuit, you pull it to you. And it's just the nature of this kind of stuff that I cover in the work that I do. I do a couple of different things. I'll start with this one. This is a creation of mine, some work. I'm a visual artist. I work in sculpture, mostly wood, but I also do metal and a beginning stone. The work that I do is reminiscent of some of the ancient temples of old where the goddess was worshipped. I am an unapologetic goddess worshiper. I believe that the inner force of the human individual is feminine, and that all human individuals, by nature and by essence, are feminine. So the artwork that I do is reflective of that particular principle, which is, for me, a fact of my living, a fact of how I orient myself, my spiritual practices. I teach a form of yoga that is structured on the principle of feminine divinity, and then particularly from the lunar perspective. But just for a moment, show you some of my artistry. Just last year, I did a fellowship with A.A Dance and Theater Collective on a piece called The Truth About Medusa. Now, as I said when I opened, there are many things that have been suggested to us that kind of allude to something that we should know more about, yet seem to elude us because the documentation is just usually not there. All of you have probably at some point or time heard that Medusa was actually an African queen from Libya. Well, I did a little deep digging into that for about 3 or 4 years with my research and found not only was this true, but there were aspects of the mythology also that had been buried. That indeed Medusa and Athena actually were one and the same goddess at one point during the period of matriarchy, when the grandmothers were the tutors of the younger women, and there was this understanding that all of the stages of woman, the 3 stages of woman in particularly, virgin, mother, and crone, are actually an expression of 3 archetypes that are in essence one woman. And this archetype of a woman is like the muse of mankind's development, spiritually as well as technologically, and all of the things that we look at as being those things that advance us. So I went about the work of creating this piece and ended up actually running into someone who knew A.A Dance and Theater Collective, who worked with ritual in dance, and basically they were doing a piece called The Truth About Medusa at the same time that I was doing this sculpture. So we did what any logical people would do. We allied forces, and we came up with a piece called The Truth About Medusa, to which I also wrote a poem that's a part of the performance. The time has come again, and this is really the heart of my work, for us to begin the process of returning the arts, the cultures, which are in essence sciences of theatrical performance. Something as simple as watching someone perform yoga asanas, believe it or not, is as healing for the individual who watches it as for the one who does it and who chants the mantras internally and who does the breathing. You are affected in your atmosphere all the time by the vibes of people. We speak about it. I didn't like the vibes in there. Well, you can literally create your own vibes. there's a way of doing it through the use of your creativity. And the foundation of your creativity, believe it or not, is in the sexual nature itself. Some of my research also is along the lines of the study of sexual alchemy, the use of the yogic disciplines, whether Taoist, Hindi, Western Kabbalah, for the purpose of sublimating the sexual force into a viable force of creativity, and hopefully making this also part and parcel of a pubescent rites of passage program for our young people, because they have so much of that energy and it's so misdirected that things are really getting out of hand. And also to help restore those of us grown folks that missed some things along the way because we missed our birthright, to help restore that stuff. In that regard, I offer this workshop every year to women called A String of Pearls. There's an aspect of it that's also going to be released here this year that's also for the brothers, because it's indeed a science. The science of sexuality is part and parcel of what it takes to build a strong nation. First, you have to build a good quality human being. Then you must begin the development of a system to feed that human being, both physically as well as mentally and spiritually. And then you have to be able to protect it. And so this is the efforts that I put forth every second, third, fourth, and if there are fifth Tuesdays at Food for Thought, Juice Bar and Lounge, on what we call philosophically fat Tuesdays. If you would like to get in contact with Food for Thought to find out more about what we're doing and how, I'm going into my cell phone here,
443
718-443
4160.
4160. All right. Also, I work out of Embora Yoga and Dance Studios. That's also in Brooklyn, Fulton Street. I have my art studio there, and I also teach lunar yoga on Friday evenings there from 10 p.m. to 12:30 a.m.
Why so late?
Well, that's the witching hour.
Okay.
That's the time when the magic kicks off. When most people are either asleep or distracted by their televisions. I'm not so. And so I look for people who also are not so, who are more attracted to looking within and to developing those things within them. In this case, by getting in rapport with the rhythms of the moon. These exercises are designed so that by midsummer, we should be doing a ritual down on the beach using these particular practices, the moon salutations, and also there's a special lunar breathing that's a form of pranayama that I'm also returning back into the circulation of initiates. So I hope to see you out. Thank you so much for the time that you've given me to speak to you, and I'll keep looking for you.
Could you get a number again?
Yes.
718-443-4160.
Go ahead. Next, we're gonna bring the brother Sam up. He's gonna give up. So this brother is one of our master astrologers, and not that astrology from the newspaper, because he writes those too. So when you think you reading something that's Sam wrote it. Okay. So give us some. Tell us when we can get into our astrology.
Okay.
And where to find you.
So am I on?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I have some cards. Oh, it fell off. I have some cards from my services, if you can pass those around. I'm going to mic myself here. And I guess Sehu and I are representing the short brown brothers from Brooklyn today. We actually met at that same place, Food for Thought, in Bed-Stuy, and we'd like to invite you again. Sehu actually is one of our readers there and seers at an event that we call the Zodiac Lounge. The Zodiac Lounge meets on the first and third Friday. Oh, I'm coming off. Maybe I should just hold it like this. Meets on the first and third Friday of every month. We will be there again celebrating Aquarius on the 16th, and I will be giving a presentation and a lecture about Aquarius. And one thing I talk about is that, like Brother Rashid said, and again, thank you for bringing me up here just to open up a little bit, I don't believe in just talking about, the age of Aquarius, everything's going to be peaceful and rosy and lovely. I get to where this really comes from and what the Aquarian age means, not just to the world, but specifically and more particularly to our people. And there's some significant things that are happening in terms of the age of Aquarius that we should know and be informed about. And so I'll be giving a presentation on that. The Zodiac Lounge starts at 7 o'clock. And again, that will be the 16th of this month. And we will have, again, brothers like Sehu there. He won't be there the 16th. He'll be there, I guess, in person, but he won't be doing readings. We'll have other people there doing sessions on that particular date. But you will want to check it out. We have mediums, we have astrologers, we have numerologists, we have massage therapists who are there to provide healing to the community. And then I'll be giving a presentation. Did I mention that we have vegan cake there too? We're going to have vegan cake for free and sparkling cider for free. So do come out. There is no entrance fee. You can see as many readers as we have there for $10 for 10 minutes. And if you want to see them longer, then it's $30 for 40 minutes.
The readers
So,
are excellent.
so there's some of the best readers. I screen them myself. I have them give me a session. I talk to them about their professionalism. So you're not just getting some fly-by-night jackleg healer or seer. So I invite you. Again, it's at Food for Thought Cafe.
Where's that at?
And it is in Bed-Stuy at Marcus Garvey Boulevard and McDonough. You can take the A train all the way there, get off at Utica. The A or the C? Okay. Well, you mean the Kingston through. The easiest way is the Utica, because then you can just take the A Express to Utica Avenue. The local get off at Kingston Troop, okay, or Throop. We locally call it Troop. And it is located at Marcus Garvey and McDonough. Okay? We look forward to seeing you there. You have the number, you have my number, and thank you, Brother Rashid.
Yes, sir. Give the brother a warm black hand.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Also in attendance, I have my mother here. She's a herbologist and a healer. She has some teas. What type of teas do you have? A uterine tea for women. And at the break, we want to support. It's a lot of us here today, so we really want to support our vendors. Sister Unity, she's made some food. My mother has some. The food is excellent. And and my mother has the teas, and I have some DVD selections and some books available. So let's get right into it. Everyone received a folder when you entered the room. I had one of my own, but it fell. And in that packet, we have some material that's going to help us challenge the text. It's very important that on the flyer it said that we were going to, where's the flyer at? It said we were going to chart a new beginning. Does anyone have a flyer on them? Okay. We got the old school flyer. We done stepped it up. We got another one. This is the original. Okay. We will demonstrate how to chart and navigate a course to health, wealth, and prosperity, utilizing the mathematic magic of our ancient Chaldean Kushite ancestors. So now, when you use a term like mathematic and you couple mathematics with magic, essentially what you're saying is that the math that you're dealing with has an influence on the world at large. Now, how do you make mathematics begin to manipulate the realm around you? The way is to transfer mathematics into the medium which governs the physical plane. So this physical plane is governed by waveforms. We're in a wave right now. We're in a vibratory frequency right now. So the way to transfer words into this vibratory frequency, in order for us to utilize and manipulate it, what would essentially we would have to do? We would have to give names and titles to things in order for us to tap into their frequency. So whenever I call you Nicholas, Sehu, Kyle, what I'm saying is I'm also saying your name, but I'm also saying a number. And this number, every time I call you, I elicit an energy from you. So every time I open my mouth and I call you and you turn around and you respond, what I say has merit. However, in occultism and mathematical parlance, and the best magical personage or the best sorcerer is the best mathematician, because by the utilization of math is a science which makes no mistakes. So the magician in this sense can make no mistake if he utilizes a standard, a canon, a system by which to utilize his science. So now the Chaldean science that I offer is under the nomenclature, the title, the term Kabbalah. Now, what was it before it was called Kabbalah? It was called Merkaba mysticism. Before it was termed Kabbalah, Kabbalah is a term that became most prevalent perhaps in the 11th, 12th century with the discovery of a book called the Bahir. Many people try to say the Zohar is the first book. The Zohar is not the first book. The first book is a book called the Bahir. You spell it Bahir. It's very important that you take notes. If you hear things that sound like you want to remember them, you need to take notes. And notice I said the word remember. And we're going to talk about memory as well, because there will be no magic without memory. Okay, now the Bahir was discovered in what's called Provence, France. Does this mean that that's where Kabbalah started? Absolutely not. When did the ocean begin? When men began to write about the ocean? No, the ocean was always here. We just termed it the ocean when we had the opportunity to do so. However, the Bahir is poorly composed. This perhaps might be one of the worst books ever written in reference to grammar, how grammar is concerned. Why? Because the person who wrote it was a novice student of the science, but took certain parts to memory and composed it and wrote it and passed it around. And much in the same way we can write something and sit and speak on it and proselytize on it, and then few hundred years, few centuries later, what happens is it becomes a grand thing. But essentially what the person was writing was a tradition that they perhaps had very little knowledge of. Now, right across from France, southern France, right across a big expanse of mountains called the Pyrenees is what? Spain. So what happened was the traditions that were found in the Bahir ventured over there and became written. Now, the people who were in charge of the spiritual system of the healthier ones in France were the Cathars. Now, the Cathars were destroyed in what's called the Albigensian Crusade. Now, the Cathars were like a Gnostic sect of Christians. They used to utilize a lot of meditation rites, a lot of ritual rites where they utilize ablution. There will be no magic without you being clean. You can't approach a magical process without cleansing yourself. And out of the three major world religions, two of them have within their rites the actual science of cleaning oneself. And that's in Judaism. They have big baths called the mikvah, big baths. That's a big ritual where one must submerge himself in the bath. And then the Muslims have the ablution as well. Before each prayer, you have to make what is called wudu. Wudu. Now it's very interesting that the wudu, before you make the wudu though, you have to induce into your psyche a mindset where you go into what is considered an underworld. You have to make a dua. Now, we have to concentrate on phonemes. Phonemes are the use of language, the sound rather, because phonemes have more of a relationship than we do historically. History can be matched, and we can put the points together if we chase the phonemes. Now, what does the word dua sound like? The dua, which was the Egyptian what? The underworld. Now, so to make dua was to pray, to induce the mindset. So praying or making supplication is, in a sense, a form of ritual which submerses oneself under the pale of this common reality. So the underworld is it's in a sense an inappropriate term. The underworld should more so be the inner world, because you're stepping in, and then in Merkaba mysticism, they said they are riding in the chariot or riding on the chariot, but the chariot is not going up. See, people usually think that Merkaba mysticism and meditation, you're ascending in some sense, or you're going up. By classification and the utilization of words, we are under the impression that, meditating is going up. Well, you're going in. You're going in. And this is how creation all comes about. It's a contraction. It's a contraction. Now, let's get back to mathemagic. Has anyone seen the movie Aragon? Aragon. It's a movie about a dragon riders. The movie is another pimp off of our Moorish science, because in the film, the protagonist, every time he shows up to save the day, everyone who greets him says, "I was expecting more." See how they play with words? They said, "I was expecting more." Well, where's Aragon? See, they abuse language. They spelled it wrong. Aragon is in Spain. And the dragon riders are the spiritualists, the Sufi magicians. And the dragon is actually, when they say I think it's in Chinese systems of spirituality, they say that or the Tibetan, they say the dragon riders are those artists. Like the poor artist, the starving artist is the dragon rider. He feeds off of his pursuit of information. So that dragon in the film was also feminine. So here we have the feminine emanation, or everything that manifests is feminine. In Judaism, in the undercurrents, the hidden part, God's feminine name is the Shekinah, which means the emanation, the eminent one, the Shekinah. Okay, that's something that they it's never in the standard books. It's always in the fables, what are called Haggadah. Okay, now, very important that we speak about these things before we get into the corpus of what we're going to do here today. Now, who believes in magic? Does everyone in here believe in magic? By a raise of hands? Okay. I know you do. Do you believe in magic? Okay, excellent. So essentially, we're all on the same page. We are the magic. Magic could not occur without you and I. Now, one thing that you must understand when pulling off a magical process is that there's no such thing as time, as we commonly know time. Your reality is a verb that's existing in the present, past, and future, and that verb's name in the Bible is Yahweh. Yahweh is a verb. What is a verb? An action in the past, the present, and the future simultaneously, all at once. Now, what is Yahweh in relation to you? Well, Yahweh are or is your four senses. You only have four senses. Forget what they taught you in school. The fifth sense is sensation. Fifth sense is quintessence. It's the culmination of the four others. Now, very important that we understand that our memory is the vehicle by which we place ourselves in the future, based off of our knowledge of a past event. There's no distinction between the present, past, or future, but the most important and significant point in those three is the very present moment. Because from the present moment, you're allowed to put yourself in the future place or take yourself back to give yourself a distance by which to view your ability or where you're going to be. So this, in a sense, is magical. When you're dealing with magic, you're saying that I want to light this candle, I want to read this book, I want to do this supplication because I want them to pay me in the future. Right? Okay. So who received a cube, a wood cube, upon entry? Okay, how many sides does this cube have? 6 sides. Now this cube is a physical representation of the crystalline holographic matrix that you have in your mind when you close your eyes and cognize about something. When you close your eyes and you think of something and you can see it very vividly, you're doing so within the cube of space. This is the cube of space. The reason why we have this cube and the reason why we were all given pencils is because we will utilize this cube to enhance our memory. Enhancing memory is enhancing visual perception. So in order for magic to occur, you absolutely have to be able to visualize that which you want. And you have to do it in such a way to get exactly what you asked for. Because if you don't, you get what you asked for, but you won't like what you get. To give you an example of a magical process where someone can get what they don't want is as follows. A woman wants $50,000. She wants it so bad that she says, I'm going to utilize magic to do it. So what she does is she goes to her altar. We have this fashioned as one. She goes to her altar. She asks what she wants. She does whatever she does with that, whatever pantheon, whatever system of magic she utilizes. She receives the $50,000 at the expense of getting into a car accident, being in the hospital, and receiving, what is it? Insurance money. See? I got a friend who asked for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. He had buku money when he asked for it. But he got the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding after he got beat for it all. See? So you get exactly what you asked for. You must be very careful at how you create the link neuro-linguistically between the psyche, visuals, and what you say and pronounce. Because your words are the bridge between thinking and the universe. And the universe and thought are essentially of the same manufactured kind. They are related. Thought and the universe are related, and the promise that the universe gives to thought is that whatever thought you see, I shall present it for you. I shall give it to you so you can experience it. So guard your thoughts and realize that each and everything that you do is magic. Everything that you do is magic. Every ritual, we all have rituals. So many of us put the same shoe on every time. We ain't gonna put the left shoe on until we put the right on, right? Some people just got their things. Because what it does is it recapitulates to the psyche a rudimentary and roundabout means by which to live and exist. People like formalities. People like, how do you think that institutions like religious institutions can last like the Nation of Islam for over 50 years? People are drawn to the rigidness of the discipline. People like discipline. It's not about the leadership. The leadership is clear. It's only one leader. It's only one star per stage. But people like the fact that there's rigid form and they know what to expect when they get there. Okay, so now there's nothing mechanical in magic. You can create your own magic, but what we intend to show here are nothing Nothing here is manufactured solely by me. If I say anything positive, it's from the ancestors. If I say anything negative, it's from myself. But what I present here is my findings and what I find. So now, if anybody, I know probably nobody's going to answer that, but what is the, but you'll answer it anyway, because you already know it. What is the Hebrew word for memory? Nope. The Hebrew word for memory. Well, what is the Arab word for memory? Because Arabic is the sister language of Hebrew. When a Muslim wants to remember, what do they do? Dhikr. Excellent. The Hebrew word for, and these are what? Zikr beads. Dhikr beads. Now, the Hebrew word for memory is zakar, and it equals 227. 227, which is 2 and 2 is 4, 4 and 7 is 11. 11 is a magical number, thus says Aleister Crowley, says that is the number of magic. Very key number in what we're going to deal with when we deal with this. Now, we're introduced to in the Torah, the very first word in the Torah acts as a vehicle to create the medium for what God does all of the fixing up in the first 31 actually verses of the first chapter. Now, what's that God's name? No. That's right, Elohim. Now, Yahweh, his name doesn't become Yahweh until we get to Genesis 2:4. There's a reason why. Because Yahweh has not yet become. First, you need the template. You need a template structure upon which to establish or infuse into it the past, present, and future, which is Yahweh. But the template structure is first a masculine and feminine entity known as Elohim. But now let's Kabbalistically deduce down into coherent terms just what Elohim is, and then we're going to go back into the very first word.